Good evening, everyone. Warmly welcome on the
Good
behalf of
evening,
the Agriculture
sir. Good.
Services Project and Industrial Services Bureau for the webinar today. It is on Farm Business School, sharing international and Sri Lankan experience. Farmers are intensifying existing patterns of production and diversifying their farm enterprises in attempt to improve their livelihoods. Technical know-how is not enough in order to be competitive and take advantage of the new opportunities that are raising. Farmers increasingly have to adapt their farm business to market changes and improve efficiency, profitability, and income. Farmers' skills and capacity can only be built through a process of learning and practice. The Farm Business School has been developed to help farmers learn how to make their farming enterprises and overall farm operations profitable and able to respond to market demands. The Industrial Services Bureau has more experience about the Farm Business School training. Today, we can share international and local experience from this webinar. I believe this webinar is very important to everyone. I would like to invite Mr. Nilakanta Vaninayaka, our Chief Executive Officer, Executive Director, Industrial Services Bureau, to welcome you all and explain the purpose and objective of this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jagat. Thank you very much. And Ayubowan, very good evening to everyone, those of you connecting from Sri Lanka. And very good morning to our keynote speaker,
Ayubowan.
who is connecting us from New York. And today we have a few distinguished the invitees and the guests. Now let me here warmly welcome the project director, Dr. Rohan Vijayakon, and the deputy project director, Mr. Dhammika Gunawardana, and also we have invited Dr. Yasanta Mahapatuna, and she also have accepted the invitation. Maybe she is also with us, and the development agencies, the chief secretaries and ministry secretaries at the provincial level, the Minister of Agriculture, all the officials from the public sector, private sector, also the development agencies, donor agencies. Most importantly, our the trainers, those who have joined with us today. And in fact, I really wanted to recognize here one of the lead trainer who supported us during the TOT training, Mr. Gamini Herat. So thank you very much for joining us, and let me take this opportunity to warmly welcome everyone for this the evening for the experience sharing session of Farmer Business School. So I'm really it's a kind of a privilege and honor for me to address you as the executive director of ISB, who is one of the leading service providers for World Bank funded agriculture sector modernization project. So before I move into the purpose and rather to introduce about the objective of the program, let me give you a very brief introduction about ISB. Those who have not properly understood or doesn't know about much about ISB. So this is in a nutshell. ISB is an organization established under the Provincial Council of Northwestern Province, so-called WIAMBA, well back in 1990 under with the support of Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, Germany. So they were the principals of ISB. So they have been funding us from 1990 to 2050, but gradually phasing out. And then in 98, so they have given us Ambalite. At any time they would stop funding, and we have to on our own feet. And then we have diversified our activities. Now we are mainly confined into 3 main areas. Yet ISB was established to economic, with the focus of economic development through industrialization. Yet the main the division Investment promotion, enterprise development and training become one of the main divisions of ISB. And then under this division, we have established 2 industrial park at Kurunegala, accommodating over 60 enterprises and attracting over more than 10,000 million Sri Lankan rupees and generating over 2,500 direct employment opportunities. Now we are in the process of developing another industrial park under this division. Similarly, we have another division called Technical and Environmental Services Division, where we work with almost all development agencies, DOL agencies, and you name it, we work with everyone. And under this division, only we've been able to interact with the World Bank funded Agriculture Sector Modernization Project, which is headed by Dr. Rohan Vijayakon. The Project Management and Consultancy Services Division, the Technical and Environment Services, so which is again another division for especially for to provide technical and other services for the industry. So this is a nutshell about ISP. So these are the basically the services we have provided. And without taking much of your time, so let me straight away brief you about the rather the purpose and the objectives of the today's program. As you know, the Farmer Business School is not a very new thing to Sri Lanka. Of course, when Dr. Vijayakon at the as per my understanding, as he was the Director General of Department of Agriculture, he also trained at the trainer, the Farmer Business School. And now, especially, so we engaged in Farmer Business School through the SMP. And now the main objective of today's event is to make aware the importance of Fbs methodology as an attractive tool for farm planning. As an attractive tool for farm planning in terms of, as you know, especially the farmers, they have been facing a lot of problem for to sell their produce, to sell their the agriculture products. So that is one of the main areas we really need to support them, the farm planning, and to find markets for their produce, and also to develop their the farms according to the market changes. So this is one of the areas where we wanted to focus here today, to make you aware about the importance of the FBS tool as an FBS methodology as an attractive tool for farm planning. And the objective number 2, I mean, especially in the ASMP projects, so they have used this tool to convert the peasant farm into commercial agriculture, which is also very important in Sri Lankan context, where especially the number of development projects in Sri Lanka and the donor agencies, they are in the verge of turning the agriculture, the peasant farming to commercial agriculture. So now the Farm Business School tool may be used to turn the peasant farm into commercial agriculture. And similarly, as you know, we have been discussing to create the entrepreneurship culture in Sri Lanka. When you discuss about some of the countries, even in the East Asian region, some of the developed nation, so this entrepreneurship culture is not developed in Sri Lanka. Now, similarly, but we believe it's also important to establish a culture, as kind of a culture to create agri-entrepreneurs, and that may be the FBS tool can be used to turn the farmers into agripreneurs, agribusiness entrepreneurs. So this is one of the main objectives, objective number 3. And also, finally, as Jagat rightly mentioned, since we have been engaged with ASMP for about 2 years to directly interact with over 3,000 farmers in their 7 project districts, and also we've been able to develop a very set of very good trainers, agriculture interest AIs as the master trainers or the farmer trainers. And so we certainly would like to share our experience. I mean, it's not only not merely the positives, not only the not only the successes. There are certain failures. There are certain lessons learned. There are certain areas for us to improve, and those things we really need to share with you. And then, of course, during the discussion and also the way forward, you could certainly come up with how we could take this the tool, how we could take this methodology as an attractive tool to turn the peasant farming to the commercial agriculture, and also turn the farmers into the agri-entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka. So our objective is very clear. And so with this, the great objectives, we have decided to conduct this program jointly with the World Bank funded Agriculture Sector Modernization Project and IUSP. So let me again warmly welcome everyone to this the wonderful seminar, the great evening. I wish a very successful and wonderful session for you. And later on, we can move on to the discussion at the end of the program. Thank you very much, everyone. Over to you, Jagat.
Thank you very much, sir. Without taking much, we will move to the today important session, keynote speech. For that, I kindly invite Dr. David Khan. He is a highly respected senior expert with over 40 years of professional experience in development cooperation in the field of agricultural and rural development with vast international experience. He had from the work in more than 50 countries worldwide as a consultant and team leader, as well as a FAO senior officer and chief technical advisor. His experience includes work with EU, CIMIT, IFAD, FAO, and the World Bank, and in countries in Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Dr. David Khan has been involved in capacity development work for a FAO, IFAD over the last 20 years, and was the initiator of the concept of the Farm Business School, which has been successfully implemented in over 12 countries in globally. Dr. David Khan, this is time for you.
Thank you very much, Jagat, and thank you also especially Waniniaka, Musli Waniaka. I'm very happy to be here, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, because I'm on the East Coast of the United States, I'm speaking to you from a distance, and I think that may be one of the reasons why this conference was organized in the evening. It's not the most convenient of times, so I have to apologize for that. But I'm very happy to sort of be with you. Let me go straight to the point about the Farm Business School. It was mentioned earlier on that there's been a changing agricultural sector over the past 30 years. As you may recognize, there's market liberalization and globalization in general, which implies a freer flow of goods and services, capital and technology. There's more competition as a result of enlarged markets, and there's much more of an integration of the global agri-food markets via trade. With this market liberalization and globalization, we've also been impacted more recently by COVID-19, and this has also had some, we thought it would have some effect on globalization in the general sense, but the lessons learned out of COVID was that in fact, there is a need for a free flow of goods and services to be maintained and to continue. As a result of globalization, modernization, and market liberalization, agriculture has become modernized with the development of value chains, greater contracting of farmers to the private sector especially, and the need for greater coordination of the different actors in agriculture along the value chain. And we also say that there's much more of a concentration and vertical integration as a result of these trends. Within these changing dynamics, there's also a change that has taken place in rural services. And this has been happening over the past 20 years. There was a structural adjustment program in the 1980s and late 1990s, which resulted in less public sector involvement in the provision of services, particularly advisory services or extension services, where there was less funding available, and that opened a space for NGOs to provide services as well as for the private sector, a greater involvement of the private sector. Generally, within the global agricultural sector, there's also been decentralization of service provision. And the decentralization has been led by a change in the demand from farmers for services to be at a level that they can access easily. So the services had to also respond to demands from farmers. As you know as well, over the years, there's also been an expansion of ICT, information communication technologies, more digitalization. This has also resulted in innovative ways to reach farmers. And I'll talk about that later on in the context of the Farm Business School. So with all these changes together, the effect that it has had on smallholder farmers is that farmers face greater opportunities, but also increased competition and risks. But in general, smallholder farmers in particular have inadequate access to value-adding technologies. They also have inadequate business management skills that was mentioned earlier on. And there's also, for smallholder farmers, limited information on prices and buyers. They have limited negotiating and bargaining skills, lack of access to financial services, and they have difficulty to integrate into competitive value chains. Together with all of this aspect of the impact on farmers, there's also inadequate marketing and business support services. So the Farm Business School concept was designed to try to address some of these challenges and to improve the decision-making of farmers. Many of the farmers have to respond to questions, decision-making questions, of which are related to the market, where to produce, who to sell the produce to, which marketing channel to use, but there are also production-related decisions. What should be produced? How should they be produced? How much of each commodity to produce? How much resource to use? This is what is necessary in modern farm business management. And the assumption is that smallholder farmers who are transiting from peasant agriculture towards more commercial or market-oriented agriculture may lack these skills and may lack the ability to look at this in a very systematic and rational manner. If we look at extension services as well, the extension services have shifted drastically over the past 20 years. The challenges have changed. The traditional extension service is very much a production-oriented service of technology transfer. If we think in terms of the modern extension service that may be required now, and when I talk about extension services, I'm talking about a broader sense of advisory services, which include possibly NGOs and the private sector. This has become much more pluralistic as a result of structural adjustment. So the modern sector also has a focus on production, on technology transfer, but it becomes less important. And more important is the focus on farm profitability, stronger market orientation. Also within the small farm household, previously under the traditional system, we always focused upon the farmer as the decision maker. These days, other decision makers in the farm household are also involved. It could be the son, it could be the wife. Youth in particular are making access to managing farms. Previously, the linkages that the traditional system had was with input providers. Now, as we know, the whole system has changed and there's a need for stronger vertical and horizontal linkages. The vertical linkages along the value chain and the horizontal linkages between different farmers or different farmer organizations. So it's become much more complex, the environment. Extension traditionally was supply driven and paternalistic, top down, we could even say. And as I said before, it's more demand driven and participatory. So the shift has been from technology transfer towards analytical analysis, tools to analyze. And the FBS is one such tool. There's also need for facilitation of information, processes, and contracts. This is all part of the FBS package. And the key thing about the FBS in this context is that the FBS is trying to empower the smallholder to make the decisions him or herself. The communications, and then the other skills which are necessary now that didn't exist before. Better communications, more critical thinking, better farm management skills, marketing as well, the access to markets, understanding about how the market operates, and also the access to financial sources, the link. In this way, we felt that the Farm Business School would also be able to address these skills and knowledge requirements. The implications that we have now is that smallholder farmers need to respond to market changes by adapting their farming system to sustain both productivity and income over the long term. And when we talk about sustainability in the environmental context of climate change, we also believe that profitability has to be seen over the long term. That requires the use of the appropriate technologies and practices that can address climate change and adapt the farming system accordingly. Farmers also have to compete more rigorously, so they're taking more risks. So there's much more of a need to be able to understand the market and to make choices between different market outlets. They need to also develop collective capacities to make their farming more sustainable, competitive, and profitable. And the idea of the Farmer Business School coming together as a group, a learning group, provides them with that collective capacity of learning from each other and even working together. And farmers need to develop their business management skills and competencies, but they can't, how do we do that? In the context of a developing country, or in the context of smallholder agriculture, we have so many smallholders scattered over rural space. This has to be done through competent extension and advisory support. As I said before, public, private, and NGO support. So the skills have to be embedded within the extension service and within other service providers. They could also be the private sector service providers who are dealing with contracting. To go on to the FBS itself, so what is it? The FBS is a participatory learning approach which was inspired by the Farmer Field School that you may know of, that really focused upon experiential learning, learning by doing. We call this a curriculum-based extension, which means that there's a structure that we have of core modules, and it provides a structure for extension workers to work through. So it's a curriculum-based extension. And the experience we've had has been very positive with this approach. The purpose, as I said, to develop their capacity of farmers to operate their farm as a business. And who are we focusing on? We're focusing on, in the general sense, market-oriented farmers. We know that in many countries, farmers are subsistence. Not all farmers who are subsistence farmers are going to ultimately become commercial farmers or even market-oriented. Some may be elderly. Some of them may have to move out of agriculture. And maybe they feel more comfortable being employed and receiving a salary. But we are concerned over here with those farmers that are more commercial or interested in being more commercial, those that are more entrepreneurial, which could include youth as well, and women, as well as those who, those who are market-oriented in the broad sense. I mean, there are many different types of markets. Some markets are domestic markets, some markets are more complex, export markets. Those who are interested in responding to signals from the market. So we have to be very, very sure that we are targeting the right people for the Farm Business School. The actors in this Farm Business School are facilitators or trainers who have to accompany the participants during, between, and after the FBS class meetings. We also have scope over here for what we call farm business advisors. Some of the extension services that we work with create a cadre or have a cadre of farm business advisors, a business doctor. And these are very important also if the programs are national in scale and are being run by the public sector. And the participants are the farmers themselves. But there are other role players. Sometimes we need people at the decentralized level to coordinate. Maybe to coordinate also in the local area between public, private, and NGO service providers. There's also need for people to develop the materials, to adapt, I should say, the materials that we have, which are core materials, to the local situation, the currency, the culture. This has to be adapted. And also the different exercises can be adapted. And we also sometimes need to have a core of subject matter business specialists, subjects specializing in particular aspects, contracting, who can be invited to the business school. So the flexibility is a very important element of this whole process. So there's 6 principles of the FBS. One is teaching and facilitation, learning by doing. We wanted the school to be interactive and responsive by working in groups, responding to questions and issues that come up. It had to be grounded in the real world and to build on the capacity that the participants have, the existing capacity. And the idea is to keep things very local. I mean, the groups themselves have to be local so people can access these schools quite easily. The package that we developed within FAO over the years is a package of a training program for the trainers, as well as a training program for the trainers teaching the farmers. So the 2 sets of materials. In addition to that, we felt over time that we needed also to advocate to policymakers to make this into a program, a national program. So there were also materials that had to be directed towards policymakers that would give them an overview of the whole program. And then we have also a series of, an exercise handbook, a series of exercises that match the different meetings, and you can arrange these accordingly, according to the needs and requirements and priorities of the participants. And there's also a toolbox as well of supplementary information. So these lead to a guide for policymakers, training of facilitators program, and then beyond that, also training of farmers. And that's the way it's set up. On the right-hand side, these are some of the meetings that we have in the core material. As you can see, there's something like, I think, where am I? I went back a bit, 19 maybe core materials, but then we also have flexibility of a choice of meetings or modules, depending upon how much time the participants have and have agreed upon. Their more advanced training program that includes mobilizing finance, group marketing, contracting, understanding what contracting is, value addition. So the flexibility has to be inbuilt. The program itself should really match the time availability and the interest of the participants. The outcomes from evaluation studies that we've carried out has been a change in attitude and behavior of policymakers and program managers in supporting the FBS, heightened knowledge and skills of farmers in the business aspects, a better performance of the farm business school, of farm business in general, I should say, and increased income, sharpened interpersonal and communication skills of participants, and improved group cooperation and collaboration amongst the members and value chain stakeholders, linkages to different actors in the value chain. Additionally, what we found to be very interesting was that taking even a technical agricultural extension worker and training him in the farm business school, he managed or she managed to adapt the content of the extension of the business school to the technical needs of his clientele, of his target group. And he became, or she became, a much better extension worker, learning how to sort of communicate that and learning how to integrate the business aspects into the technical side of their work. It strengthened their skills in extension. So how do we start how to start an FBS? Orientation, introduction of the approach. We have to obviously give an orientation to the target, to within villages, to the community. Identify a group of champions to kickstart the process. Train a core team of trainers. At the higher level, we call them a core team of trainers who will be important to be able to adapt and develop the program, the materials, and also organize a training program for the extension workers. And then to go down from there to training of farmers. And then when we have, at different levels, we would have trainers people who've been trained to be certified as trainers, and then expanding it out. So it involves maybe a brief half-day orientation. We have different aspects of the cycle with different lengths of training. So the cycle itself means setting goals for the FBS program, engaging with farmers to identify participants, aligning FBS curriculum to the local conditions, contact with selected participants, preparing and running the training program, and then at the end of that, evaluating the training program. So there are a number of steps as well. And the next steps from programs that we've carried out would be, they would graduate, the programs would need to be evaluated as well. We will be training the FBS trainers and deploying and sustaining and ensuring, in fact, institutional capacity through addressing policymakers, through having maybe a one-day orientation for policymakers. So, yeah, so how do you establish it? It can be started by different agencies. As I say, it's not just the public sector extension service. It's relevant for NGOs, for commodity groups also, with advisory services. Sometimes you have district level, provincial level, or even national level commodity groups. And they may even want to create their own advisory service that can be worked through them. And then there are also farmers associations and cooperatives, where this is also applicable. And the training materials have also been seen to be relevant for colleges and universities, or even pre-extension training programs for new extension workers. So it can be designed as a curricula. Maybe it would last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but a curricula before they become extension workers. So the time frame, we have at least 20 sessions. As I said, it's area-based, based upon creating clusters of farmers in a particular area coming together and learning. And the important thing is that they need to be close, the school needs to be close to the homes of the farmers so that they can walk to the school. That would be the preference. Access to computers, that's possible, maybe, I wouldn't say computers, but I'd say maybe calculating machines for the program. But maybe for some of the more advanced, and for some of the youth that may have already some knowledge of computing, it would be very helpful to have spreadsheets, to be able to work on spreadsheets. And there's a need also for institutional capacity of the whole system to coach in the coaching of the facilitators, because besides the training program, the facilitators need to be able to go back maybe to these groups and to coach them and to advise them. And there's a need also within the system of a monitoring, evaluation, and learning process. If I can just give you some idea of the country coverage that we've been involved in, these are some of, well, these are a large portion of the countries where this has been rolled out in. as you can see, Malawi, Ethiopia, Sri Lanka, all parts of the world, different regions, and the materials have been adapted accordingly. The lessons from evaluation studies that we've conducted, and these evaluations have been very largely sort of external evaluations. The programs, with the learnings have been that the program should be designed on the basis of client demand. That means that we have to be adaptable to what the clients or what the farmers want. And we also feel that in some contexts, the farmers should be willing to actually contribute towards the school. When I say willingness to pay, rather than paying farmers to come to the school, if they realize and they understand all the content and what they could expect, and you create a demand for that, they may be willing to actually contribute some funds. When I say to pay, and not paying, it could be willingness to pay to be able to have refreshments within the school, or maybe to pay for exercise books or for some of the extension materials. And in some cases, maybe even to pay for a trainer. If you're talking about working with the private sector, it might be a possibility. And if you're working in a group, it could be small amounts of money that may be adequate to be able to attract some trainers to come to the school. We can discuss this further on, maybe after the presentation, but this is, I think, an important issue. We need to also obviously ensure that the content matches the needs. It needs to be used flexibly, reinforced by the preparation of extension materials. As I said earlier, extension workers have very innovative ways of communicating these exercises to farmers. Capacities to be built to carry out facilitation. The facilitation side, the capacity of the service provider, of the trainer is very necessary. Largely experiential learning by doing. For example, there should be also field exercises involved, where if they're doing a market appraisal, they'll visit a market and understand what a market is. It isn't just an abstract concept. They should be able to go there and see how to gather information on prices, to ask the right questions, and to get a better idea as to what happens to the produce once it leaves their farm. And it must be cost effective, and the whole idea is that it has to maximize outreach. The issue of scaling up is very important for us, and that's why by having a module and having PowerPoints to be able to create awareness and to advocate the school to policymakers and program managers, we may be assured of rolling it out and upscaling it. And I believe that this is maybe one of the purposes of this presentation. These are some of the materials that we have produced over the years. The materials on the right-hand side is sort of a reference material with a large number of exercises that have been drawn up. And as I said to you, there's, oh, sorry, let me go back. I may have missed, oh yeah. This is a collection of materials, and it contains a one-day orientation program, a 7-day orientation program for the training of the facilitators, and then a handbook and training exercises. And these are different versions that came up from different countries. I don't know if we have time, but I do have over here, I suppose, a video of a recent farm business school carried out in the Middle East, in Lebanon. This may be very informative if it works. Let's see if I can click it. Just a minute. From current slide here. Because rather me talking, the people over there, I think in the video, will be able to reinforce what I've been saying. So let me just.
Please wait a minute.
لمسنا حاجة عند المزارعين لتحسين قراراتهم التجارية. كرمال هيك اعتمدنا وطورنا طريقة مبتكرة للإرشاد الزراعي يلي هي مدارس إدارة الأعمال الزراعية. من خلالها بيقدر المزارع يتخذ قرارات أفضل، يحسن من منتجه ليلبي متطلبات السوق وبالتالي يزيد من ربحيته.
قدرنا طورنا مواد تدريبية بتناسب المزارع بلبنان والدول العربية، وهي مؤلفة من تمارين للمزارعين، دليل للميسرين، دليل للمدربين، ومواد مرجعية.
البرنامج اللي تدربنا عليه بالتدريب اللي صار لمدة أسبوعين مع الفاو كانت تجربة رائدة، لحتى أنا من الناس اللي عم تفاجأ بمفاعيلها الإيجابية.
المدرسة هي منهاج بيقطع فيه المزارع ب4 مراحل: التشخيص، التخطيط، التنفيذ، التقييم.
المدرسة بتجي عند المزارعين، مش هن بيروحوا لعندها، وهن بقرروا كيف بدهم يديروها بالطريقة المناسبة.
هاي المدرسة يمكن عملت نقلة نوعية بالمزارع من قلبه، يعني يكون عم ياخد منا، لأنه نحن بالنهاية ما عندنا شيء مادي عم نعطيه، يعني نحن عم ندربه ليقدر هو يربح مادي من شغل اللي بده يشتغله.
هلا المدرسة علمتنا كيف نزرع بشكل صحيح، نعرف الخسارة من الربح. أنا عم فكر إذا الله راد السنة الجاية أعمل بيوت بلاستيك وأزرع فيها بندورة، لأنه علمونا طريقة التسويق الصحيحة.
بدأنا نلمس لمس اليد، تغير التفكير. ما في خيار بالزراعة، ما في تقدم بهذا المجال إلا بهاي الإدارة.
نيجي نزرع ما نعرف شو ربحنا وشو خسرنا، نطلع نحن بالنهاية خسرانين. قبل ما تحمل المعول تقطع الجنينة من ورقة وقلم اللي تدربتهم لتعرف تتصرف شو بدك تزرع، وعن جد انك تربح.
Okay, sorry, thanks very much. I'm sorry that I hope you managed to read at least. I didn't tell you that it was in Arabic, but it's a recent example of the Farm Business School. I thought it would be useful. And I think the reason why I wanted to point that one out in particular is because the Farm Business School is applicable to different levels of development of farmers. In some cases, we dealt with farmers in Africa. In the case of the Near East, where it's being rolled out, it's very much a middle-income country, or middle-income countries, very much more in line with Sri Lanka. And I think people over there have also found it to be pretty valuable. So anyway, that's all from my side. Thank you very much. Apologies for that break in not being able to show the video earlier. But anyway, now we can move on with the program.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your clear explanation and interesting presentation. Next, we move into the experience sharing session. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Dhammika Gunawardena. He is currently working as a Deputy Project Director, Agriculture Sector Modernization Project, comes under the Ministry of Agriculture. He obtained basic degree BCom Special, postgraduate in Administration from the PIM, and postgraduate diploma in finance, MBA from PIM, and microfinance specialist, and also accredited trainer, and he has diverse experience in public institutions. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, David, and good evening to Sri Lankans. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Our PD is just behind because he couldn't, he's the real person who would have done this presentation, but he was so busy nowadays. So somehow I'll try to manage the program. I'm so happy, David, because you have addressed the total agriculture sector modernization project, not only ISB training, just by looking at it, what I felt was that you are really addressing the total ASMP project concept. Next. Now, next. Now I want to explain. I want to give you a little understanding about what the agriculture sector modernization is. You know, the World Bank has financed 64.23 million loan, and European Union really they gave us 28 million. So the objectives are to productivity enhancement. One of the key projects really that the training module should address productivity enhancement, and then improve farmers' ability to respond to market opportunities. Now, David really addressed all those areas. And also, we'll have to do the agriculture as a business, not as a subsistence occupation. Next. So, therefore, I want to bring all the variables into conceptualization of what the ASMP is. Now, the key challenge is formation of sustainable farmer producer organizations. Now, if the FPOs are sustainable, it has to be able to be addressed, catered to the international market or the domestic market, as well as input supplies. So then to make it a sustainable farmer producer organization or FPOs, you know, the capacity building comes as one of the primary functions to make them really business people. That means we'll have to that FBS training is really catering to that, including the farm organization training. Now, according to our conceptualization or the concept, the first and David highlighted that the technology, agricultural technology. So we are going to establish agriculture technology demonstration parks. So that means everything is now included. I'll with the next slide, you will be able to see what the agriculture demonstration park is. Now, wait, go back, please. Right, technical training. So because even David highlighted the importance of technical training as to how the new technology is brought in. And thereafter, now, according to our concept, really we'll have to, in developing the agriculture technology parks, we'll have to supply with the project construction or rehabilitation of infrastructure and also the irrigation facilities, access roads, and storage facilities. Then only with that support, we will be able to establish ATDPs, in other words, establish agriculture technology demonstration parks. And then we'll have to have the policy support. With all them, really, we'll be able to really ensure at the end of the project, there has to be sustainable farmer producer organization. So in this case, really, as David highlighted, the capacity building of the selected our farmer community, the FBS training has to really address most of the issues that really the David highlighted. I am so happy that all these areas have been covered under our syllabus. Next one. And therefore, I think at the end of the project, I hope that we will be able to deliver the right results. Now, agriculture demonstration park is shown here. Here, the modern agriculture really, and the marketing infrastructure, right? Value-added chain and the wells, production infrastructure, farmer producer organization. All those are in a cluster village, where cluster village is a place where we'll have to take 300 to 500 farmers who are in the same crop nearby, by taking nearby villages, through which we will try to make it a big cluster, because we want to ensure the scale. Otherwise, you know, if the farmers are scattered here and there, it won't be able to demonstrate to the total nation what we are doing and experience sharing lessons. Next. So this is a very practical one, the green chili park, Kaluda Valley, that is in particular area where the green chili is cultivated. Infrastructure roads are, you will see, and some of the irrigation system you can't see here. But really, this is actually what we have done in particular area, Kalutavali, Green Chili Park. Next. So now farmer business school training. Really, what we have we did with regard to the farm business school. Really, you all know this is basically at the inception. This was financed by the World Bank. This year, in the last June, the EU came in to finance $28 million US. Now, according to our World Bank guidelines, selection of the training consult, we have done it. So then we have to strictly follow World Bank procurement guidelines. Accordingly, the top scorer, the Industrial Services Bureau, Kurunegala, came into as a consultant for do this. And because we saw that we have got all the information with about ISP's past performance, their experience, and their panel of consultants, their TOT programs, training of farmer programs. So through which we thought that ISB is the best consultant to perform this training module. Next. Now, this has to be addressed. Why FBS selected? Because I don't want to really reiterate that according to the presentation made by Dr. David, really he addressed everything which covered the total concept of the our agriculture sector modernization project variables. So then most appropriate syllabus. Now I sometimes at the first day that I saw it, I thought that it's an MBA program, right? Even last time I told to David whether it's an MBA program. Most appropriate syllabus to achieve the objectives of the SMP. That is means ultimately the FPO sustainability is to be ensured. Critical factor in our farming community is the marketing of produce of farmers. If you just look at day-to-day news in Sri Lanka, then most of the farmers are agitating. Sometimes nowadays they are agitating looking for fertilizer. In most of other cases, they are really agitating how to market their produce. Now, because marketing is not an easy thing. Now we'll have to understand the marketing concept what it is. Still, our farmers are in the production concept that has been practiced about several decades ago, and then product and also the quality concept. So therefore, we'll have to inculcate with the farmers about the marketing concept, what the David has really addressed it, and product enhancement leading to enhanced competitiveness, and marketing linkages. Again, this has been addressed by our concept, and commercialization rather than farming for subsistence farming. And with the program, really the business management skills have to be instilled among farmers. Next. So, so these some of the photos that we have conducted our TOT program conducted by the ISB and second TOT where our project director is there, Dr. Ichekon, and then this conducting some of the FBS training classes, very informal manner to suit to the farmers. And next, and another slide continuing another training session, and then areas to be further improved in our program. Now what we have experienced is that we had to do some 30 sessions by keeping all these farmers for a longer period. You know that our farmers don't find time to stay such a long period. So there were some complaints that is too long, right? And also the farmer selection was a problem for us because sometimes there was a very wide range of capacity. There were even illiterate farmers as well as learned young people. So when we when we have been conducting the training, the illiterate farmers might not be able to catch them up sometimes. So therefore, we'll have to be very serious about selecting the farmers. And also advanced syllabus for farmers absorb total content. You know that, as I said, this is almost like a very important syllabus, MBA program, but the only thing is sometimes we rush to conduct this training within a time frame where the farmers will not be able to absorb it within a short period of time. If we had to conduct that training sessions, having some intermittently, keeping slowly and steadily, I think it would have been more important for the farmers' point of view. And also what I saw there was that nowadays even I look at it, because by looking at my qualification, I am a management guy and finance guy, right? I am also a farmer, but I learned a lot of things from our agri scientists and from the PD, as well as by going through the TV and some other WhatsApp programs. Now, if we can if we had the chance to show them some of the automation, mechanization programs, to see them, to convince them how those things are done, it will be more beneficial, I think. And also, there was again, one of the loopholes is follow-up action, because we have conducted, we couldn't really do the follow-up action thereafter, whether they have learned it, whether they have been, their behaviors have been changed to suit to the new farming, competitive market, or producing something for the market, we couldn't see. So then, those are the areas where we have to improve. Go to the next slide. So then group activities. Now the biggest challenge nowadays that we are facing, group activities. Can we use this training methodology further? Social distancing to be maintained, face masks, right? And hence need IT-based distance learning, WhatsApp, Viber group, YouTube, social media, biobubble. Now those are the areas where we'll have to inculcate or we'll have to bring in the new techniques as new techniques. Or really the methodology is to be changed to suit to the today's situation in the country because of the COVID situation in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Next, I kindly invite to Mr. DMW Dasanayaka, former Provincial Director of Agriculture, Ua Province. He obtained basic degree in BSc Agriculture from the University of Peradeniya, MSc in Agriculture Extension in UK. He has also more than 24 years experience in planning, implementing, budgeting, monitoring, and evaluation of agriculture extension programs. And also, he worked different kind of agriculture project, and he involved to conduct FBS training in Sri Lanka. This is time for you, sir.
Right. Okay. In fact, the FBS program was first introduced to Sri Lanka in year 2010 by a project funded by FAO. The project was called Strengthening of Agricultural Extension through Enterprise Development. David Kahn was at that time working in the FAO, and he was the pioneer of introducing this to agriculture department. Then we conducted a lot of training programs for different type of officers. We have trained 28 assistant directors of the department, then 156 extension officers, then private sector extension officers, namely Hales, 14 officers of the Hales, 3 officers of CIC, then Badulla IFAD project. We trained 18 officers of the project office, plus 10 agricultural instructors in Badulla district. Then recently we conducted one training program of climate smart agricultural project. In that, there were 3 deputy planning directors, then 22 agricultural instructors, and there were 3 development officers. I just wanted to highlight this because now we have covered a lot of department officers as well as private sector and some project officers. So they can carry out this training very effectively in the field if they are interested. Now, coming back to this agriculture modernization project, through that we have started this training in 2 phases. First, in year 2020 January, in that first phase we trained 50 officers. 22 TOT officers and then 28 field officers who in turn conducted the training for the farmers. Then the second phase was in year 2021 January. In that we have trained another 23 training of trainers as well as 19 field officers. If I mention the experience what we have gained conducting this training from the year 2010 to 2021, I would say there were a lot of attitude changes in officers as well as the farmers after attending the training classes. It was remarkable. Actually, we couldn't believe that in certain cases how some farmers and as well as officers who came for the first day in the training and how they improved after 3 weeks. Then most of the officers who were at that time some enterprises, they improved their enterprises. I can have a lot of examples there, but there's no time to explain that. But most of the farmers who has their enterprises improved tremendously. Then some of them after the training started new enterprises. Then most importantly, farmers were able to learn about how to produce for the market, then what is minimum price, what is the break-even point, and how to price his product. Actually, we conducted marketing survey to understand how they are going to price it and to decide what is the product they are going to cultivate in the field. And after attending to the farmer business classes, most of the farmers started new enterprises and also they wanted to think differently. And some of them have started some very important enterprises which they have not thought about doing in the field previously. Then there were some shortcomings of selection of officers as well as farmers. What we are suggesting in future is if you are going to have a training program for the farmers, that officers should be selected from the same village or the area where the training program is going to conduct. Then another very important thing is before selection of the farmers, you have to make aware about this program to the farmers and then allow them to decide whether it is important for them to attend to this training, and after attending the training should select them as the beneficiaries of the project. And another very important thing is you must have the group from the same village, otherwise there are very difficult situations. We have experienced very difficult situations because farmers are very difficult to come from different areas and transport is an issue like that. Then again, homogeneous, if you have a homogeneous group, that will be ideal. Like if you have a papaya group, guava group, like that, that is very easy to conduct this training for the facilitator. Another very important thing is just conducting 35 training lessons for the farmers will not achieve our objectives. We must have different plan for these trained farmers to conduct and apply that knowledge in the field. So I suggest that at least we should have a 2-year training program, after the training for these farmers, and that if we can adopt that, I think we can achieve our main objective. Otherwise, I think there is just giving these 35 training lessons and stop the follow-up activities and all will not sufficient. It is again the same thing. There should be a follow-up activities after the training. If not, I don't think that there's necessity to conduct this training. If you are unable to conduct a follow-up program after the training, there is no point of conducting the training for the farmers. These are some photos taken during our training programs. Master training, trainees training. This is group work by the trainees. This is farmer training in the field. These are also farmer training. This is very interesting. This is, I think, in Batiklo area. There were a lot of farmers in this training program. I think, if I'm correct, there were about more than 50 to 60 farmers. They were just sitting on the sand under these trees. Not even, they don't have a sufficient capacity building to attend to the training. So they conducted the training in the open areas. Their participation was excellent. And this is also another farmer training sessions. This is in Batiklo or Jaffna. This is in Jaffna. This is also in Jaffna. This is Mulati. This is how one of our trainers conducting the class in the field. This is again the same. These are farmers who are attending to the class. Again same. These trainings were conducted in different environments. That's why what I want to show you here, because some of them had no space to conduct it in a sufficient way, especially in Tamil speaking areas we conducted, they didn't have buildings to conduct training programs in a proper way. In certain areas, though they had a building, they didn't have tables or chairs to sit, but still they managed to conduct the training effectively. This is we conducted lesson learned session for the officers at Gannur in-service training center after the first phase of the training. This is some of the photographs taken at that time. Okay, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to highlight.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice presentation. Next, I would like to invite you all to watch a small video clip about Farm Business School, and it has a success stories.
ගෝලීයකරණය, ලිබරල්කරණය සහ වේගවත් නාගරීකරණය හේතුවෙන් ලෝපුරා ගොවිතැනේ විශාල වෙනස්කම් සිදුවමින් පවතී. ගොවීන් ඔවුන්ගේ ජීවනෝපායන් වැඩිදියුණු කිරීමේ උත්සාහයක් ලෙස පවත්වා නිෂ්පාදන රටාවන් ත්‍රිවර කරමින් ඔවුන්ගේ ගොවි ව්‍යාපාර විවිධාංගීකරණය කරමින් සිටී. තරඟකාරී වීමට සහ පැන නගින නව අවස්ථාවන්ගෙන් ප්‍රයෝජන ගැනීමට ගොවීන්ට වැඩි වැඩියෙන් තම ගොවිපළ වෙළඳපළ වෙනස් වීම්වලට අනුවර්තනය වීමට කාර්යක්ෂමතාව, ලාභදායීත්වය සහ ආදායම වැඩිදියුණු කිරීමට සිදුවේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ කෘෂිකාර්මිකාංශ නවීකරණය සඳහා ලෝක බැංකුව අරමුදල් සපයන අතර වයඹ පළාත් සභාව යටතේ ස්ථාපනය කර ඇති ව්‍යවස්ථාපිත ආයතනයක් වන කර්මාන්ත සේවා කාර්යාංශය මගින් ගොවිපළ ව්‍යාපාරික පාසල ශේෂ්ත්‍ර මට්ටමින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කළ අතර ව්‍යවසායකත්ව සහ කළමනාකරණ කුසලතා තුළ ගොවිධාරිතාවය ගොඩනැගීම මෙහි අරමුණයි. මෙහිදී කරනු ලබන්නේ කිරීමෙන් ඉගෙනීමේ ප්‍රවේශයක් මගිනි. ගොවීන්ට තම ගොවිපළවල වැඩ කරන අතරතුර ඔවුන්ගේ දැනුම ඉගෙන ගැනීමට සහ වැඩදියුණු කිරීමට ඔවුන්ගේ ආකල්ප වෙනස් කිරීමට සහ වැඩදියුණු කළ ගොවිපළ වාණිජකරණය කෙරෙහි ඔවුන්ගේ කුසලතා වැඩි කිරීමට මෙමගින් හැකියාව ලැබේ.
නම KML කුමාර දිසානායක මම මොනරාගල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ මැදගම් පැහැදිලිකම් කොට්ටාසේ මෑල්ලගම ග්‍රාමීණ නිලධාරි වසමේ මේ නාගහවත්ත ගම්මානයේ තමයි දැනට ඉන්නේ. මම රැකියාවක් වශයෙන් ගොවිතැන තමයි නියැලලා ඉන්නේ. ඒ නිසා ගොවිතැන අපි මුලින්ම ගොවිතැන කාලයක්ම කරා කිසිම දැනුමක් කිසිම ලියකියවිල්ලක් වාර්තා තොරතුරු නැතුව තියාගෙන මේ කටයුතු කරගෙන ඉන්නකොට අපිට මේ තුණු පාසල තුලින් අපිට දැනුම ලබා දීලා අපි නව මාවතකට යොමු කරා. මේ මාවතකට යොමු කිරීම තුලින් අපි අද මේ අන්නාසි වලින් විතරක් නෙමෙයි නොයෙකුත් භෝග වලින් අද සියලු වාර්තා ළඟ තබාගෙන දැක්මක් අනුව වැඩ කරලා ඒ දැක්මෙන් අපි ඉදිරි අනාගතයේ ගොවියෙක් හැටියට සාර්ථක කරගන්න දැනුම ලබා ගත්ත නිසා අද සාමාන්‍ය හරි යම් මට්ටමක් ඉහළට ආදායමක් ගන්න අපි ව්‍යවසායකව බවට පත් වෙලා ඉන්නවා. ඒ විතරක් නෙමෙයි අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ ගොවි නිෂ්පාදන සමිති මේ පිහිටුවීමේ දැනුම අපිට තිබුණ නෑ. මේ කණ්ඩායමක් එකතු වී වැඩ කිරීම අපි තනිතනම හුදකලා වෙලා වගේ අපි පුද්ගලව වැඩ කරේ. නමුත් දැනට මේ ගොවි නිෂ්පාදන සමිතිය අපි දැනුම ලබා දීම තුළින් අපි සමිතියක් හැටියට ගොවි කණ්ඩායමක් හැටියට එකතු වෙලා අපි නොයෙක් ජයග්‍රහණ කරා යොමු වෙමින් සිටිනවා දැන්ටත්.
ව්‍යාප්ති නිලධාරීන් පහසුකම් සපයන්නන් ලෙස පුහුණු කරනු ලැබේ. ඔවුන් ඍතුමය පුහුණු වැඩසටහන් සංවිධානය කරන අතර ගොවීන් කුඩා කණ්ඩායම් වශයෙන් ඔවුන්ගේ කැමැත්තෙන් සහ ඔවුන්ගේ වේලාවන් අනුව පුහුණු වෙති. සහභාගී වන්නන් මූලික වශයෙන් සාක්ෂරතාවය සහ සංඛ්‍යාත්මකව සිටිය යුතු නමුත් ඔවුන්ට සැලකිය යුතු විධිමත් අධ්‍යාපනයක් තිබිය යුතු නොවේ. තමන්ගේම ගොවිපළවල නිෂ්පාදන රටාවන් අනුගමනය කරමින් ගොවි ව්‍යාපාර කළමනාකරණයේ මූලික කරුණු පියවරෙන් පියවර මාර්ගෝපදේශ අත්පොත මගින් සපයයි.
මම දිගම්පතා ලොකුලුණු බීජ නිෂ්පාදන ගොවි සංවිධානයේ සභාපති MJG මහින්දරත්න. අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම කරන්නේ වැඩිපුර මේ බීජ නිෂ්පාදනය තමයි ලොකුලුණු බීජ නිෂ්පාදනය. අපිට මේ ගොවිතැන් කරගෙන යනකොට සම්බන්ධ වුණා කුසි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතිය. කියන්නේ ISD ආයතනය සම්බන්ධ වෙලා අපිට ගොවි ව්‍යාපාර පුහුණු පාසල සම්බන්ධ කරලා අපිට ලොකු දැනුමක් ලබා දුන්නා. මේ දැනුම අරන් මම හිතන්නේ අපිට විශාල පිටුවහලක් වුණා මේ දැනුවත් කිරීම. විශේෂයෙන් ව්‍යාපාරයක් විදියට කොහොමද ගොවිතැන කරගෙන යන්නේ, ඒ වගේ ලාභ ලබා ගන්න කොහොමද, ඒ විදිහට අපි දැනුවත් කරලා ඒ අනුව අපි ඇත්තටම දැන් මේ වෙනකොට ඒ පුහුණුවේ ප්‍රතිලාභ භුක්ති විඳිනවා. අපි මීට කලින් සම්ප්‍රදායික විදිහට කරගෙන ආවට ගොවිතැන දැන් මීට මේ කාලය තුල දැන් අපිට ලැබුණ අර ISB ආයතනෙන් ලැබිච්ච ඒ පුහුණුව දැනුවත් කිරීම හරහා ක්‍රමානුකූලව ව්‍යාපාරයක් විදියට දැන් ගොවිතැන කරගෙන යනවා. ඉතින් මේ හින්දා ලොකු දියුණුවක් ඇති වෙගෙන යනවා. පොත්පත් නඩත්තු කරගෙන ආදායම් අලවිය ඉලක්ක කරගෙන නිසි කළමනාකරණයක් කරගෙන යනවා. ඒ නිසා මම හිතන්නේ අපේ ආර්ථික ඉහළ නංවා ගන්න මේ කුසි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතියේ ISB ආයතනෙ ලොකු පිටුවහලක් වුණා. ඒකේ ලැබිච්ච ප්‍රයෝජනය තාමියලා ඒක වචනකින් දෙකකින් ඇත්තටම කියන්න බෑ. විශේෂයෙන් මේ වගේ දේවල් වැඩමුළු පවත්වලා ගොවීන් දැනුවත් කිරීම ඉතාමත් වැදගත් වෙන අපේ රටට. විශේෂයෙන්ම සම්ප්‍රදායෙන් මිදිලා නවීන ක්‍රමවේදයන් අනුව ව්‍යාපාරයන් හැටියට ගොවිතැන් කරලා ගොවීන්ගේ ආර්ථික දියුණු කරගන්නවා වගේම රටේ යහපත උදෙසා මේ විදියේ ක්‍රමවේදයන් එක්ක ඉස්සරහට යනවා නම් හොඳයි කියලා මම අදහස් කරනවා.
ගොවිපළ ව්‍යාපාරික පාසල ශේෂ්ත්‍ර මට්ටමින් දිස්ත්‍රික්ක 7ක පළමුවෙන් අපි ආරම්භ කළෙමු. එම දිස්ත්‍රික්කයන් පොළොන්නරුව, අනුරාධපුර, මාතලේ, මොනරාගල, මඩකලපුව, යාපනය සහ මුලතිව් දිස්ත්‍රික්කයන්ය. මේ සියල්ලටම ප්‍රථමයෙන් එම අදාළ ප්‍රදේශයන්හි කෘෂිකර්ම උපදේශකවරුන් සම්මුඛ පරීක්ෂණයක් මගින් තෝරාපත් කරගත්තෙමු. ඒ සඳහා ව්‍යාපෘතියේ අදාළ නිලධාරීන් මෙන්ම අදාළ ප්‍රදේශයේ කෘෂිකර්ම අධ්‍යක්ෂකවරුන්ගේද සහාය නොඅඩුව ලැබුණි.
කෘෂි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතියේ අභාපති වශයෙන් මම කටයුතු කරනවා. අපි දැන් මේ අධිරයටදී ගොවියෝ 75ක් ඉන්නවා. 75 මෙහි 33 දෙනෙකුගේ තමයි මේ වගාව තියෙන්නේ. ඒකෙන් අක්කර භාගයක් මම සාර්ථකව නිම කරලා මේ ගොවි මහත්තුරු සියලු දෙනාම එකතු කරගෙන මේ 33 දෙනා අපි දැන් මේ අක්කරයක පළ 14000ක් අපි හිටවලා තියෙනවා. ඇඹුම් පළ 300ක් වගේ හිටවලා තියෙනවා. මේ ගොවි මහත්තුරු ඇත්තටම මේ පුදුම කැපවීමකින් මේක මේ පොටු සාර්ථකව ගෙනියනවා. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු මෙතනින් ඉදිරියේදී මම හිතන්නේ අක්කර 10 15 දක්වා අපි ඉදිරියට ගිහිල්ලා මේ කෘෂි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතියෙන් ලැබුණු මේ මුලදී මේ ආධාර මුදලෙන් අපි ඇත්තටම හොඳ විවසායකයෙක් කියලා රටට ආදර්ශමත් ගොවි පවුල් ටික බිහි කරලා මේකෙන් මේ ගොවියාගේ අනාගතයේ දියුණු මාර්ගයේ දක්වා ගෙනියීමට තමයි අපි මේ වැඩසටහන ගෙනියන්නේ. දැන්ට අපි මේ අක්කරයක් මෙතන පටන් ගන්න තින්නේ. දැන් අපි අක්කර 10ක වගේ ඉඩමක් අපි හොයලා තිනවා. ඒක මේ ලබන අවුරුද්ද වෙනකොට අපි ඒකෙත් මේ ඇඹුම් කෙසලුයි අන්නාසි අපිට මේ වගා කරලා අපිට කෘෂිකර්ම දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් ඇත්තටම මේ අන්නාසි වගාවට උපරිම දායකත්ව දීලා තියෙන පුහුණු පන්ති කරලා ගොවියා නොදැන දේවල් ඔක්කොම ටික කියා දීලා දැන් මම හිතන්නේ ගොවියා මේ වගාව ගැන උපරිම උනන්දුවක් දක්වලා කරමින් ඉන්නවා.
මෙහි දෙවන පියවර ලෙස එම තෝරාගත් කෘෂිකර්ම උපදේශක මහත්මීන් 50 දෙනෙකුකින් සමන්විත කණ්ඩායම් දෙකක් වශයෙන් පුහුණුකරුවන් පුහුණු කිරීමේ දින 10ක නේවාසික වැඩමුළුවකට සහභාගී කරවා ඔවුන් දැනුවෙන් සන්නද්ධ කළෙමු.
මම සේනිරත් කුමාරසිරි දඹුල්ල බෙලංගොල්ලගමේ මම අතරම මේ මුලින්දම ගොවියෙක් ගොවිතැනක මමගේ ජීවනය ජීවන කරගෙන ආවේ. ඉතින් මම මේ මුල ඉඳන් ගොවිතැන කරගෙන ආවේ පාරම්පරික ක්‍රමයට. ඒ පාරම්පරික ක්‍රමයට ගොවිතැන් කරගෙන එන අවස්ථාවේදී තමා මේ අපිට මේ කෘෂි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතිය අපිට මේ මුණ ගැහුනේ. ඒ අවස්ථාවේදී අප දැනුවත් කරලා අපිට TJC අඹ වගාව වගා කිරීමට අවස්ථාව සලසා දුන්නා. ඒ අතරතුරේ අපිට නොයෙක් පුහුණු වැඩසටහන් ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණා. ඒ ක්‍රියාත්මක පුහුණු වැඩසටහන් තුළින් අපිට කප්පාදුව, ඒ වගේම වගාවන් නඩත්තු කිරීම, ඒ වගේම මේ වගා සැලැස්මක් හදා ගැනීම, එතකොට ගණන් මිනුම් තබා ගැනීම වගේ අතිවිශාල දැනුම් සම්භාරයක් එතනින් අපිට ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ වගේම ISB ආයතනය මගෙන් අපට කෘෂි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතිය යටතේම අපට ලබා දුන්නා මේ කොහොමද වගාවක ඉදිරි සැලසුම් කරන්නේ, සැලසුමකට වගා කරන්නේ, එතකොට ගිණුම් පොත් ඒවා තබා ගන්න, ඒ ආකාරයේ අපිට පුහුණු ලබා දුන්නා. ඒ ලබා දීමේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් වශයෙන් තමයි අද මට මේ ගැප් සහතිකය ලබා දුන්නේ. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම අපට සතුටුයි මේ වගේ ආයතනයකට අපි සම්බන්ධ කරගෙන අපේ ජීවනෝපාය වශයෙන් මේ ගොවිතැන පාරම්පරිකයෙන් බැහැරව මේ අපනයන වෙළඳපොළට උනත් අපිට මේ ගමන් කරන්න පුළුවන් හැකියාව අපිට ලබා දීම පිළිබඳව මම ඇත්තටම මේ කෘෂි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතියට ඒ වගේම ISB ආයතනයට මම මේ වගේ
දෙවන පියවර වශයෙන් එම පුහුණු කළ කෘෂිකර්ම උපදේශක මහත්මීන් යොදා ගනිමින් ගොවින් 1750ක ප්‍රමාණයක් ක්ෂේත්‍ර මට්ටමින් පුහුණු කළෙමු. තවද මෙම ව්‍යාපෘතියේ සාර්ථකත්වයේ හේතු කොටගෙන නව ගොවීන් 1335ක කණ්ඩායමක් සඳහා එම දිස්ත්‍රික්කයන් 7හිම ගොවිපළ ව්‍යාපාරික පාසල දෙවන අධීරයක් වශයෙන් ඉතා සාර්ථක අන්දමින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනු ලබයි.
Thank you very much for you all. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Hettiarachchi. He is currently working as agriculture instructor in Anuradhapura district, and he has also more experience about the training of farmers with the concept of FBS. And also, I invite to Mr. Hettiarachchi to share your field experience. Over to you, Mr. Hettiarachchi.
අයිබෝවන් සර් සියලු දෙනාටම අයිබෝවන් බොහොම ස්තුතියි මම ඉස්සෙල්ලාම සූදානම් වෙනවා විශේෂ නිලධාරියෙක් හැටියට මගේ දියුණු කරගත්ත මේ FBS වැඩසටහන නිසා ISB එක හරහා අපිට නිලධාරීන් වශයෙන් ෂේඩ් නිලධාරීන් වශයෙන් අපිට ලැබිච්ච දේවල් පිළිබඳව දේවල් ටිකක් කතා කරන්න ඉතින් මෙන්න මේ විදිහට අපි පුහුණු වැඩසටහන් කිරීමේදී විශේෂයෙන් ISB ආයතනයේ තමයි කෘෂිකර්ම දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව හරහා අපි පුංචි පුහුණුවක් ලැබුවට ISB ආයතනයේ තමයි මේක ශාස්ත්‍රයේ තුල අපිට අත්දැකීම් ලබා ගන්නට අවස්ථාව සලසා දුන්නේ. ඉතින් මෙහිදී මේ ලබා දුන්න අත්දැකීම් තුලින් අපි ඉදිරියට ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ දේවල් ගොඩක් අපි දියුණු කරගත්තා. ඉතින් ඒ කියන්නේ නිලධාරියෙක් හැටියට අපි දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට අරගෙන එනකොට අපි ගාව තිබ්බේ ඒ වෘත්තීය සුදුසුකම් වලට අමතරව විශේෂයෙන් ශාස්ත්‍රයේ අනිත් නිලධාරීන් අභිබවා යන්නට පුළුවන් ආකාරයේ දැනුම් සම්භාරයක් අපිට ලැබුණා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි ශාස්ත්‍රයේ මේක කරලා අපි ලබාගෙන තියෙන විශාල දැනුම් සහ අත්දැකීම් සම්භාරයක්. ඉතින් මේ දැනුම් සහ අත්දැකීම් සම්භාරය තුලින් අපිට අපේ රාජකාරී කටයුතු ඉතාමත්ම කාර්යක්ෂම ලෙස සහ වෙනත් කෝණයකින් බලමින් විශේෂයෙන් අපේ රටට අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ ව්‍යවසායක මට්ටමේ ගොවි මාතෘ සහ ව්‍යවසායක මානසිකත්වයක් තියෙන ගොවි මාතෘ බිහි කරන්න මේ FBS පුහුණු පාසල තුලින් මට ලබා දුන්න ISB එක ලබා දුන්න මට දැනුම ඒක මට කියන්න බැරි තරම් විශේෂයෙන්ම නිලධාරියෙක්ගේ තියෙන හැකියාවන් ඔපනංගමින් ඔවුන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි ට්‍රේනර්ස්ලා වගේ හිටියේ ඊට පස්සේ ඔවුන් TOT ට්‍රේනර්ස්ලා මාස්ටර් ට්‍රේනර්ස්ලා කියන අගය වැඩි කිරීමේ නිලධාරීන් බවට පත් කළා. ඉතින් ISB ඔබට ගොඩාක්ම ඒ සම්බන්ධ මම ස්තුතිය පුද කරනවා. ඒත් එක්කම මේ ඔවුන් අපිව තෝරගත්ත ශාස්ත්‍රයේ ගොවි කණ්ඩායම් පුහුණු කිරීම සඳහා මේ ASMP ආයතනයත් එක්ක. ඉතින් එහිදී විශේෂයෙන් මොනස් ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකත් එක්ක ගොවිපළ පාසල් කීපයක් අපි අනුරාධපුරයේ පවත්වුවා මම පැවැත්කලා. එහිදී මට හැකියාව ලැබුණ ගොවි මාතුන්ගේ හදවත් තුළ මේ බීජ රෝපණය කරන්න. දැන් ඒ බීජ රෝපණය වෙච්ච ගොවීන් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් අපිත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා. ඔවුන් හැම වෙලේම ඔවුන්ගේ නිෂ්පාදන කටයුතු වෙනස් විදිහට ව්‍යවසායකයන් විදිහට කරන්න ඔවුන් දැන් උත්සාහ කරනවා. ඒත් එක්කම ඔවුන්ගේ ජීවන මට්ටම සහ ආර්ථික මට්ටම ඊටමත් ඉහළ මට්ටමක තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන් ඔබට මම පෙන්නපු ඩේවිඩ් කාන් මහත්තයා හිටපු ෆොටෝස් වල ඉන්න ගෲප් එක බැලුවොත් ඔය ගෲප් එක අද ඒ සර් එනකොට හිටපු තත්ත්වයට වඩා විශාල දියුණුවක් ලැබලා තියෙනවා. මේ හැමෝම ඉහළ ආර්ථික ආදායම් මට්ටමක ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් මම යෝජනා කරනවා මේක ලංකාවේ සමස්ත ගොවි ප්‍රජාවට මෙන්ම අනිකුත් සියලුම අයත් මේ පුහුණුව සහ මේ දේ ඇඟට ගත යුතුයි. එතකොට මේ රට සංවර්ධිත රටක් කරන්න යන ගමනේදී ආදායම් උත්පාදන වැඩසටහන් කරන ගමනේදී මේක ඊට වැදගත් සංකල්පයක් වේවි. ස්තුතියි ජගත් ISB ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම
Thank you very much, Mr. Hettiarachchi. Next, I kindly invite to Mrs. Mekala Madhubashini, papaya and chili farmer in Anuradhapura district, to share her experience about the FBS. Over to you, Mrs. Mekala.
සියලු දෙනාට සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක්. ජගත් සර් එහෙනවද?
ඔව් එහෙනවා කියන්න.
සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් සියලුම දෙනාටම. මගේ නම මේකලා මధుභාෂිනී විජේවර්ධන. අනුරාධපුර නොච්චාගම අන්දරවැව දිරිය කාන්තා ගොවි සංවිධානයේ කෘෂි නවීකරණ ව්‍යාපෘතිය යටතේ සම්බන්ධ වෙලා මම වැඩ කටයුතු කරා. ඒ අතරෙදිම කර්මාන්ත සේවා කාර්යාංශය මගින් මෙහි වූ ගොවියා පාසලටත් සම්බන්ධ වුණා. එමගින් අපි නොදත් ගොඩක් තේ ඒ කියන්නේ පාරම්පරිකව කරගෙන ආව කෘෂි කර්මයට වඩා වෙනත් අපි පොත්පත්වල සටහන් කිරීම මේවා කරලා තිබුණේ නැහැ. නමුත් දැනට ඒවා කරගෙන යනවා. ඒවා කරගෙන යනින් ගමන් අපේ සාර්ථකත්වයක් තියෙනවා. දැනට මම ගස්ලබ්බු සහ මිරිස් වගාවේ නිරත වෙලා ඉන්න. ඒ වගේ ගනු ලබන ආදායම් වියදම් මේවා නිසි කළමනාකරණයකින් අපි කරගෙන යනවා. ඒකට ගොඩාක්ම කර්මාන්ත සේවා කාර්යාංශය මගින් මෙහි වූ වැඩසටහන ගොවියා පාසල ගොඩාක් උදව් වුණා කියලා මම හිතනවා. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your. Now open to question and answering session. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Anusha Bandara, Director, Project Management and the Consulting Division of Industrial Services Bureau, to conduct this session. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, Jagat. Thank you very much. And also thank you very much all the participants for their attendance for this program. So then now we have already come to the latter part of this program. Before concluding this event, so we want to open, because I know you have a lot of questions because to ask from the key speaker and also the other speakers. So then, so we are having few guidelines to be followed in this question and answer session. So first one, first you should raise your raise hand button. So then, and also you should ask very specific question, and also please nominate who you want to ask the question. So then please follow this guideline. So then now it is open for you. So in our panel, so we are having Dr. David Khan. So he's the keynote speaker to, so then, and also in addition to that from the ACB project, so we are having Mr. Dhammika, and also from ISB side, Mr. Dasanayaka. So then, so they are ready to answer your question. So now it is open to all the participants. So then you can ask all your questions.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes, we can hear.
Yeah, I'm Anura Disanayaka. I am first of all, I have to thank ISB to arrange this webinar. It is very interesting. So I have some experience in the early 90s. We conduct this similar concept for this integrated pest management. So at that time we call that the farmer field schools. I think there's the next step of these farmer business schools. I think this is very practical and very attractive and very interesting area. So my question is regarding this marketing. So we know that there are a lot of companies involved in this, the value addition of the perishables. So most of know, because I work for one of a major multinational company as a business manager. So I really know that that company is importing the tomato pulp, 20 feet container tomato pulp every month. right? So they have the tomato pulp is imported from the China. At the same time, they importing from the chilies. Chilies for adding to the noodle pack, and also the dry form of the vegetables adding for the noodle pack. So they have some certain markets here, but no one is addressing. So my question is actually under this producer group concept, can we address those kind of the multinational company requirement? Because still they are importing from other countries, but they have some certain these parameters. For the tomato sauce, we have to cultivate the special varieties, and the chilies, they have some fungency, the parameters and everything, and the dry form of the vegetables also same. So can we do that? Can we address it? Because no one is addressing. Because that time I was trying to find out this kind of producer group in the entire country, but I didn't see that this kind of background. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Andre. So then, from whom you want to ask this question? So then, if you are not nominate any
I don't know who's addressing the marketing side, especially, right? So
okay,
please, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Andre. So then, in our panel, anyone from our panel, is it possible to give an answer to Mr. Andre? Because he's basically asking. Yes, Mr. Dhammika, so you can answer.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, it has to be responded by SMP project. I don't know whether Dr. Vijayakan, our PD, is here, or otherwise. You know that really now, according to our project concept, we don't start any cultivation, any crop without a buyback agreement or without any buyer, right? Now, initially, now, with regard to the chili and all that, really that is because of the government initiative. Earlier, chili was not one of our crops, but because of the government intervention, we wanted to bring in the chili cultivation. So we are doing cultivation, honestly, really targeting a specific market. You know that, for example, if you just take green cucumber, the Haleys are the buyers. That is for the international market, right? And also guava, that is also for the international market. But only problem is they are still on the halfway through, right? If you take pineapple, now the farmers have earned a lot, tremendously, their income from pineapple as well as passion fruit. Really, they buy a MD. Initially, really the given price of 70 rupees. Ultimately, we got to know that it has increased up to about 300 rupees per kilogram. And even the keels, they have bought it for 120, 200. So because whatever the crops what we are cultivating, it is targeted to a specific buyer. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dhammika. So then, but in addition to that, Mr. Andra asked a very specific question. The thing is, because now we are having all the climatic condition in Sri Lanka, so but still, so they are importing a large quantity of tomato from China, right? So then, and also according to the current government policies, so we are promoting we are practicing some import substitution policy. So then I want to ask the same question. I want to direct the same questions to Dr. David Khan. From your international experience, are you having anything to share with us, especially from your international experience?
Excuse me for that. Actually that is not the real form, but I want to highlight that the value addition is not a tomato fruit, it's a tomato pulp, and also the value addition of the vegetables and the chilies. Those are the things. Are we going to address under these farmer business schools? That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Anura, if I understood your question correctly, because in farmer business school program, so we are mainly conducting management type training. So because we are supporting these farmers to be more commercialized farming, to start more commercializing farming activities. So, but in addition to that, is there anyone from our panel who can answer this question?
Yeah, because you know that we are targeting, we have specialized 5 crops. The Tom JC mango, baby banana, that means ambul banana. We are trying to pomegranate, and also MD2, especially imported variety, it is underway for the procurement process, and also papaya, that is Hawaiian papaya, right? And in the meantime, because of the government request, we are doing, in addition to that, green chili, right? Because we are trying to, but we can't. I don't think that we will be able to fulfill the total requirement of the dry chili. But we are halfway through producing seeds, because even the seeds we have imported so far almost all the requirements, but we will be able to fulfill at least about 30-40% of the country's requirement with regard to chili seeds. Like us, we have limited, because our funds are limited. We have brought in international consultants to do all these marketing and all the ATDP, Agriculture Technology Demonstration Parks. Now, with that, really, these 5 crops, we have given the more attention to these 5 crops, targeting the international market. Basically, pomegranate and green chili, all those are really as substitution policy of the government. We are producing to the local market.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dhammika. So then, yes, Dr. David Khan.
Okay, if I can just add something over here. I think the question really is a little bit broader than that, the specifics. It's a question of how the materials can be adapted to deal with, say, marketing issues that are coming up now pertaining to maybe a single crop or number of crops. And this, I think, is a very interesting point, because we design the materials in a general way that could be applied to any particular product, and we can identify as part of the needs within these products what should be included as the content. Now, we have to also realize that we're dealing with training extension workers and farmers. We're not dealing with the policy level issues per se. We haven't got a program here that is designed for policymakers to be able to change the government policy. So it's not true that it's not as if the FBS can solve all issues. It can address issues related to farmer organization. It can relate issues related to the farmers, but not necessarily the policy level. Indirectly, maybe through farmer organizations, one could lobby government. But to go back to the idea of how adaptable it is to a particular product, one could say, yes, as we said before, it could be done through a commodity association. It could be focusing on a particular product, and then we would identify through the needs assessment what those needs are. And some of those needs may be needs related to quality, maybe related to standards, maybe related to a better understanding of how to respond to market changes. These are things that can be built into the program. And the materials that we have, some of them do that. It talks about value addition. The materials talk about contracting. These are the more advanced materials. As I say, the materials themselves in the FBS, we have, I suppose, a reference of exercises, something like more than 80 different exercises. These can be brought down. These are in fact categorized under different grouping aspects. The choice of what exercises you apply to a particular farmer group who are being trained, it depends upon the needs. Now, if by any chance this isn't covered 100%, then I am hoping that with the training of the facilitators or the trainers, they would be able to use the approach and even develop a further exercise, if so. So I'm saying that it's very difficult from our point of view to have produced materials that could be applied in every part of the world for every type of smallholder, and also covering every particular value chain. So the materials are more general, but on the other hand, they could be applied to a particular value chain. And if we have a gap in the materials of a particular topic like branding, then we can also develop an exercise or a couple of exercises around that. So it depends very much on the core team of trainers that we identify. these trainers have to have certain qualities, certain attributes. They need to be good trainers. They need to be able to prepare training materials, and preferably they need to have a strong understanding of agriculture and the agricultural environment to be able to devise an additional training extension, training exercise if necessary. Moreover, the flexibility of the program allows you to bring in experts, maybe to speak to a group. But if you're going to be bringing in an expert, for example, who's dealing with a national level issue, you may not want that person only to talk to one group. Maybe they have to talk to the whole program. So it's this type of thinking that is necessary to address issues that are specialized. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. David Khan. So, and also I want to tell you, so you can use this chat box to type your question. So then now we can go.
Can I answer? Can I answer?
Yes.
I'm Chandana from EU. Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes, sure. Please ask, Mr. Chandana.
Yes. Actually, I'm asking this because of my curiosity after listening all these presentations. Because you know that Sri Lanka is currently in a quick transition mode from this inorganic agriculture to organic agriculture. So do you train these farmers, especially on this proper way of doing organic farming, or in your curricula, you have covering something about value chain development of organic practices or something like that? Just to know.
Okay, so then, yes, from whom you want to ask this question? Otherwise, I will direct this question to all our panel. So then, anyone from our panel, please answer this question. So he's basically, yes.
Yes, I would first, so then thereafter the David can help. Now, because when the project design came in, that organic, the policy was not there. So we have not touched at that time at the beginning. But now really we are addressing it. Even there are a lot of instruments are in the procurement process. And also there is a training module. We have brought in the organic the expert from the agriculture department who is retired, one Dr. Hemantha, right? So now we are in the process of developing organic. And we have already started, and we have even, I have gone through in several districts discussing all these areas, availability of raw materials as inputs. And also we have looked forward to the machinery that are required to easily transform all these materials into organic form. All that is that we are in it.
Okay. Anusa, can I ask a question? Dr.
Yes,
Rohan.
doctor. Yes, doctor.
Now, again, the question of Chandanam. Now he's asking whether ISP, the FBS training, conducting training on organic agriculture. No, because FBS training is not to conduct training on technical matters. It's a methodology for business. So that is the short answer to Chandana. So through the farmer business school training, we don't conduct technical training. Right. Now my question to all the trainers, including David. Now, we have been conducting this training for past 2.5 years. We have trained 3,000 farmers. I have stopped because of the COVID. Because this FBS training is, training methodology itself is a group kind of training. Interaction is needed. Face-to-face interaction is needed. You can't keep 1 meter distance. You have to remove your mask and talk. Right? Entire training methodology has to be changed now. How can we use the WhatsApp group or social media or some other way of conducting this training? How can we continue this training with this COVID situation? So that is the question from David, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's very good that you pointed out what the Farm Business School is, that it really is focusing upon business training. You remember I spoke about the Farmer Field School. I said we adopted ideas from the Farmer Field School, but the Farmer Field School itself was really aimed at technical training. We also assumed that farmers have that knowledge, how to grow, whether it came from the Farmer Field School or whether it came from technical trainings that the Extension Service do. We also realize that even within the Farmer Field School, there may be certain modules that they require to cover marketing and business, but not the whole program of the Farmer Business School. We have done that as well. We can adapt the Farmer Field School, which is more technical, to include some more business. But we can't do everything with the Farmer Business School. We're not teaching them how to grow organics as well as how to do the business side of it. That will have to be, that's a separate program that would be required, but it could be through the Farmer Field School. With respect to the issue of COVID, it's interesting. I mean, I'd like to think that COVID itself, that this will dissipate, that this won't stay with us. And I know that from my experience working in other countries, even under COVID, the interaction is very important. And I do believe that now, for example, there are meetings going on in developing countries, some trainings are still carrying ahead, as long as we can be sure that the people who are participating in it have been vaccinated or have had PCR tests. Having said that, and I do believe that the interaction is important, there is always the possibility of interaction through Zoom. You could have a group and you could discuss within the group, and then some of the exercises, they could go back and they could apply it to their own farms, and then you bring the results back. There's a little bit of an adaptation that will be needed. And I must say, I developed some training materials since COVID began to train cooperative management, and to train cooperative management also in business skills, but in a way that they would have, they would be taught initially from a distance or remotely about what these tools really mean. For example, profit statements, cash flow, investment appraisal. This could be done through the internet. This could be done through people using spreadsheets. That has been designed, but you still need to have the interaction between group members. So there's a follow-up to that where people do meet. So I'm saying that if you think that COVID is going to carry on for the rest of our lives, and we have to be as cautious, then we have to think of another way to sort of address the interaction. I believe personally that we could still have training programs as long as we keep distance, and as long as we're, as long as we sort of follow the protocols. And I don't think that COVID is going to stay with us for too long, hopefully.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Davy.
Yes, again, I'm Rohan here.
Yes, Dr. Rohan.
We are thinking of practicing a bio bubble technique for business school. For instance, my bio bubble will be banana. Amul banana, we have 642 farmers. So that is a bio bubble for future training. So that we are thinking of continuing the farm business school and other training through this technique. So we are trying to practice this bio bubble or WhatsApp group. David, do you have any experience, current experience, any country doing this kind of training at the moment?
You're asking me whether I have experience with this. I don't. I mean, I think this is a very good initiative, and I believe that, I mean, every country is different. I know that in some of the Near East countries, they're focusing upon olives, and they may be focusing on specific crops where within a certain area, they have a common problem. For example, oranges, citrus. These things vary so much globally that I think anything that comes up on bananas or in other areas, it's part of the rich learning experience we have. But we like to think that the materials can be applicable to every context if we're focusing on the business side of it. whether you're selling bananas or whether you're selling olives, you still need to be able to assess the market. You still need to have a better understanding, really, of the contracts that may be involved in linking up through a buyback scheme. So the intention was to try to develop generic materials that could be applicable to all situations. And that's why we showed you a range of different contexts, Africa, Asia, the Near East, where it's been applied.
Thank you very much, Dr. David. So next question is from Mr. Chamila Rajapaksha. Yes, Mr. Chamila Rajapaksha, you can ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Anusha. My question is actually according to the your present, this project is to change agriculture, traditional agriculture farmers to agriculture entrepreneurs. So in that case, the farmers need some market information. Every year we have experienced it, excess production as well as some products excess production. So most of our farmers, their cultivation and all their decisions taken based on the last season price for their final outputs. So what is the solution for that?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chamila. So then, so anyone from our panel is going to answer this question?
I think in the FBS curriculum we have.
Yes, Mr. Vijay. Yes, Mr. Dasanayake.
Yeah, in our FBS curriculum we conduct a marketing survey, but in addition to that, our facilitator can encourage farmers to find out this marketing information they need. At the moment, actually, we do conduct only the farm marketing surveys, but other marketing informations they have to find it out either through internet, WhatsApp, or other media.
You know.
Yes, Dr. David, you want to tell something?
I mean, I think that there are things that can be improved, I suppose, in the materials we have. Like, obviously, we can't carry out an MIS system, market information system. We can't build it up. But what we should do, maybe as an additional exercise, now that time things have changed, a lot of farmers use smartphones. What we need to do is to get them to understand how to source the information, maybe through the smartphone, where to go, through the internet, where to go. So that's something that could be added in quite easily. And I've done that recently in a training program for cooperatives. It could be built also into the FBS. But let me say that for a farmer to know what the prices are in a market doesn't mean that he can decide effectively. He also needs to understand exactly what the costs are in order to be able to reach that market, and then to calculate the margin on the marketing side of really how much, if you're making a choice between different markets, how much, how costly is it to one market as opposed to the other market, and being able to deduct that so that they get an idea as to what the price is, the price they could expect. So I'm saying that it's not enough just to have market information. You need the business skills to interpret it.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. David.
And Anusha, not only
Yes,
that now,
yes, Mr. Dambika.
In our plans, really, now we are going to have a MIS platform which will indicate most of the development with regard to markets. So it is underway now. We are under the planning. Yeah, some sort of platforms to share information, not only the market information, and also some technical information, the experiences that it is underway. Now, even today we have discussed it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dhammika, sharing that's very important information. So in addition to that, so then we can move to a few questions. So then anyone from our participants who want to ask a question?
Could you kindly give me your Mr. Anura's telephone number, please?
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Anura.
Yeah. Note 77.
Right.
31.
Right.
40.
Right.
863.
What is the organization?
Actually, I have done it as a freelance.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank
so
you.
Then, right. So is so anyone from our participants who want to ask a question?
I don't have a question, but I have a final statement before you close.
Okay. Yes. If there are no questions from our participants, so then we can directly move on to final remarks. Yes, Dr. David.
I just wanted to say that we're talking about the FBS as a training program. And I wanted just to point out that it's not just a training program. What it really is broader than that. It's a program that is reorienting the advisory services of the country. As I said in the beginning of my presentation, the extension service needs to be rechanneled. The functions of the extension worker have changed. So we're dealing with a system. And that system requires program managers and policymakers to recognize where the changes lie. On the one hand, they lie because there's a more pluralistic approach to providing advice, including, as I said, private sector as well as the NGOs. And within the extension service, the idea of reorienting the extension worker from a technical specialist to somebody who's a broker of information and a facilitator of training. So that, I think, requires a lot of changing mindsets and advocacy and understanding amongst the minister, the program managers, the senior management as to what should change. Another thing I wanted to say is that for scaling up, and I don't think we explained it very well, this program trickles down. It goes from the core team of trainers down to the trainers of the extension workers, down from the trainers of extension workers to down from the extension workers to the training of farmers. But at the end of the line, we want it to be scalable and we want it to be cost effective. So we also want the farmers themselves maybe to be certified. If there's some exceptional farmers who are interested, they could be certified as trainers. And they may even be able to carry out another training program in other villages. And by word of mouth, if there's advocacy and they see the impact, then maybe they'll even be able to collect some money to pay for that person to do the training. So that, I think, is part of the process that we're trying to aim at in order to scale up. And an important aspect of this is not just a training program that's one-off. There's also the need for follow-up, mentoring. So that's where the service providers, the extension service providers come in. Their job may be to even to visit during the week. If the school only meets once a week for 3 hours, the rest of the time during the week, they could still come back to the village and could find out individually within each each household whether there are issues that need to be addressed. So it's a full-scale extension approach. I don't think that they need to do much more than just follow this type of curriculum-based extension to be more effective. So that's what I wanted to sort of say. And then maybe the last aspect of our cost effectiveness is that our experience really has been that it's very, very low cost. We don't think it's advisable to pay farmers to come and to meet, because the incentive should be there through the content and through the interest that they get from the extension worker. If they make it interesting, they'll come on their own accord. And this has been our experience in many contexts, that we don't need to pay them to come. They can walk, they can spend 3 hours a week if they find the material to be effective. So those are my sort of going away messages on this.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. David. So then I will give now Mr. Dhammika. So then now you have time to make your final remark.
Thank you very much, David. It's very comprehensive presentation that you made, and you addressed most of the issues that we all are facing. And what FBS is almost addressing the total concept of the ATDP, as I say. So then I'll have to thank you all for the presenters, the sharing, and also specifically the ISB, who are our training consultants. They have done a great job for us. And I'll have to mention one of our training specialists, Mr. Tilakratna, who initiated most of the work, but he left halfway through, he being a retired officer. So I'll have to thank him also for the valuable job done so far in the training aspects. Thank you very much.
If I can just add something, which I forgot. Just a second.
Yes, okay, Dr.
Is there anybody here from the Ministry of Agriculture?
So the project is now Dr. is here. Can you speak?
We all from the Ministry of Agriculture.
I just wanted to say that a project, an IFAD project, has been approved or signed, if you recall, the SARP project, SARP.
Yeah.
And within the SARP project, there's also an element there of the Farm Business School. So you should notice that there's a possibility to roll it out also in the dry land area, the dry zone areas, again, but to a different target group to what you had under the World Bank project. And it doesn't cover always the same districts or provinces, but I'm saying that it exists there again, and you'll have an opportunity to develop the program, improve the program, also bearing in mind the lessons learned through this meeting, this webinar.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. David, for sharing that very important information with us, and also as you mentioned, many people are many participants in today's webinar are from Agriculture Department, so this information may be very important for them. So in addition, so then now, so finally, and also I want to give a chance to Mr. Dasanayake. So are you having anything to add before concluding this discussion session?
You have to unmute yourself.
Right, if Mr. Dasanayake doesn't have anything to share with us now, so then I will conclude. Okay, yes, Mr. Dasanayake. Yes.
Yeah, this is in response to Mr. Anur's question regarding that whether we can include value addition into FBS program. Actually, we already have value addition program training session in FBS curriculum. Actually, we do primary value addition processes in that session, but Mr. Andra is talking about, I think, commercial value addition to chilies and tomatoes. So that is this question is actually when I retired the department in year 2004. So this was the issue, whether we can produce tomato pulp in Sri Lanka. And after another 17 years, still we are talking about that. So this is the area that we should address by research. Or I think if we don't have right varieties, still we can use our varieties and produce for our markets.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dasanayake. So with that, so because now we have passed our the time. So then, so I will conclude this discussion session, and I will hand over the control to Mr. Jagat. Jagat, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. It is a very fruitful discussion. Before wind up this webinar, we need to get superb ideas from your end for how to introduce this concept for other farmer groups, and how to contribute this concept for developing, transforming to traditional farmers to commercial farmers, and ultimately how to contribute this concept for Sri Lankan agriculture economy. For that session, I would like to invite Mr. Nilakanta Vaninayaka, our Chief Executive Officer, Executive Director, Industrial Services Bureau, to conduct the session on way forward. This is very important session on the webinar. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jagat, and also thanks for the presenters who made a very fantastic job today, commencing from Dr. David Khan, Mr. Dhammika Gunawardena, and then again Mr. Dasanayaka. Of course, the presentations were really informative, and then you were come up with your own experience and the international and the local expert, the local experience. Well, it's very important for us to see the results. Even whatever we do, we try our level best to come up with some sort of a results at the end of the day. And what we, we had a very clear intention or other objective of organizing this program. Even after the project, after the SMP, we need to take this up and also to roll out. As David has rightly mentioned, it's our duty. Even now, even at the number of discussion we had with the project, we have clearly indicated that we need to take up this and also to establish a kind of a mechanism, a sustainability mechanism to conduct SBS program even for the future development projects, and also whatever the development projects in agriculture sector in Sri Lanka. So it's very important for us to create a FBS culture. For that, as Dr. David rightly mentioned, it's very important for us to work with the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Animal Production and Health, and similarly the Ministry of the Export Agriculture Department, all these, the related departments and the agencies who work towards the development of agriculture sector in Sri Lanka. So that is one of the main areas. So we really wanted to emphasize here. And also now even the experience sharing session we have conducted somewhere in 2019. So we have decided to establish a FBS forum. It's very important. Even the Dr. Vijay Kon and even the former, as Mr. Gunawardena rightly mentioned, who is the one who created, who set the tone for us to come into this, the scene for conducting FBS program, Mr. Tilakaratna, when he was the training specialist. So we were promised him, even now we were decided to establish a FBS platform to share knowledge, and even as David rightly mentioned, we also need to conduct certain refresher program for the trainers. And even as you mentioned, even the previous discussion we had with you is also important for us to make room for the farmers to come up as the trainers. In fact, similarly, it's very important for us to look for trainer accreditation. As David also mentioned, we need to keep open this platform to develop the farmers to become a trainers. So that they could share their own experience. And then, as he mentioned, now we don't really need to incentivize the farmers for attending the training program, rather than incentivizing the farmers so that they could sometime come up with paying the training sessions. So that is the culture we really wanted to create here. So with that, the great intention, what we really wanted to focus on two things. The one is to create the FBS culture in Sri Lanka while introducing this great model this great methodology in all agriculture related agencies, the ministries and the other departments. That is number one. Number two, similarly, we are planning to work with all development agencies, donor agencies, private sector agencies, and as Dr. David has rightly mentioned, we also need to train a certain number of trainers, even in the NGO sector, INGO sector, the private sector, so that we can see kind of a competition, level playing field at the every level, so that they could certainly train the farmers, the beneficiaries, and in a more effective manner. And finally, is equally important the sustainability. For this sustainability, so we really decided now we will closely work with the SMP, the project, and also the ministry to take this up and also to establish the FBS forum, and to take forward these proposals in near future. So with that remarks, I would like to wind up here, and then I also need to mention again the two great personalities who were behind with us. One, Mr. Tilakaratna, who was then the training specialist, who take the initiative to introduce the FBS methodology or this tool to the SMP project. And also, similarly, one of our lead trainers, he's of course one of the leading trainer for the enterprise development training in Sri Lanka, Mr. Gamini Herat. So thank you very much, Mr. Herat. So he also joined with today. So I mean, he in fact, of his the vast experience as the lead trainer, with his experience and knowledge, he's been able to contribute to develop a set of wonderful national level trainers in FBS methodology with a great support extended by Mr. Dasanayaka. So thank you very much for everyone for joining us today, and we wish to continue FBS program even without the projects are over. So thank you very much and have a very pleasant evening and good night to everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for you all the speakers. Dr. David Khan, Mr. Dhammika Gunawardena, Mr. DMW Dasanayaka, Mr. Hettiarachi, and Mrs. Mekala for today's webinar. And I must very special thanks to all the participants. And I wish you gain the basic knowledge, ideas, and experience on the farm business school concept. So we look forward for more initiative at the farm level to build up and encourage the farmers to move forward this concept in future. Thank you, everyone. So let's wind up this session. We will meet from another food webinar like this in future. Thank you very much. Good night for you all. Thank you.